Hello, it's the Midwestern Movie Reviewer here with another movie review. I recently saw Fantastic Four: First Steps. Fantastic Four! I love that part of it. We went and saw this in IMAX and I really enjoyed it. Although it had things about it that were really original and things that were like, Silver Surfer again? What? I don't know. So they've redone, they're calling this a reboot of Fantastic Four. They've redone it like this the fourth time, I think. And so I'm like, you can't do a sequel? You cannot do a sequel. What? I don't know. This is phase 6 of the MCU. So last week I saw Superman, DCU. This week, Fantastic Four, MCU. I'm starting to have a hard time keeping these universes straight, and they keep rehashing the same stuff. I don't know, but there are some really awesome things about this one. If you're a fan of like Pedro Pascal, this is like just stare at Pedro Pascal for a couple hours. If you're not a fan of him, you may not have loved this movie. I can see how you wouldn't. It may have been a little bit boring for you. But as someone who does love him, I was just happy as can be. I was very happy. I think he's an amazing actor. It starred him. You have the same characters again. You got Reed Richards, Sue Storm, Ben Grimm, and Johnny Storm. And so they don't go, once again, take them from the beginning to how they got their powers. And this one, it starts, they already have their powers. And here comes that Silver Surfer. But I did enjoy the villain Galactus. He was real. I love a villain where you're like, how can they possibly get out of this situation? That is what I want. I want that level of investment and fear for the characters. And then they threw in a baby that seemed extremely vulnerable. I loved that. I thought it was really, really interesting. So you had Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Eben Moss-Backrack, and Joseph Quinn. So Eben Moss-Backrack, he is from that cooking show, oh gosh, The Bear, I think it's called. And so in this, with all the rock, formations of the character Ben that he plays, it was hard for me to know that it was him in that character. I'm not real familiar with his voice, so it just seemed like a random character for me, but I like that character. He seems very different than the character he plays on The Bear, so I enjoyed it. I thought he was good. I thought he did a great job. One of my favorite things was how it had that retro look. So it made it seem like, it reminded me a lot of the Jetsons. It has like a 40s, 50s vibe, but with space age stuff and robots and stuff around. I thought that was so cool. I really enjoyed that. It was a little bit nostalgic for me because as a child, I watched a little bit of that cartoon. I love that was just something different and fresh for one of these movies. I don't want to tell you too much about the plot beyond the fact that Galactus is the villain, and you got the Silver Surfer working for him. Julia Garner plays the Silver Surfer, and she did a great job. I loved how, even though she was all in that silver makeup, bodysuit, and everything, she looked gorgeous, and she emoted. You could feel how she was feeling. It was great. I thought she did fantastic. Okay, I don't remember this, but in Doctor Strange, John Krasinski played Richard Reed, the Doctor. And so they had considered him to play the Doctor in this film. I didn't remember that, and I'm going to go back and look at that just to look at John Krasinski as Dr. Richard Reed. But I think they did a good choice with Pedro Pascal, and him and Vanessa had really good chemistry. It was interesting. The special effects were pretty good, but I will say that the baby special effects, sometimes they used a CGI baby. And if you're somebody who remembers the CGI baby in Twilight and how weird it was, this one's just slightly better than that, but still has that weird factor where you're like, this is taking me out of the film because I'm looking at how weird this baby looks. And not weird in a bad way. The baby looked cute, but you could tell it was CGI. So I don't know. I did like that they set up for the sequel a little bit with their extra credit scenes. So I stayed for the first, I watched both the extra credit scenes. The very, very last one, you could skip it. It's not adding anything. But do watch the very first one and then just go home. You don't got to sit there in the theater because the credits are like 15 or 20, a lot of credits. You don't got to stay for that. And so there's going to be a sequel. They already are working on it. They do know that Robert Downey Jr. is going to have a role in that one. So I'm looking forward to that because he's been part of the MCU forever. It's doing pretty well. Superman's kind of dropping off pretty sharply in its box office. Fantastic Four is going to really take off and get the rest of the box office right now. This one, I did want to say this. Superman is more for children. This had more of a serious tone to it, more for adults. Yes, it does have superheroes, fighting, special effects and all that, but the tone is very serious. There's a few humorous moments, but I like my superhero films, very serious. I struggled a little bit with Superman because it was so silly and so childish. I had to let go of wanting this kind of a tone for a movie. And so getting in here and having that familiar feel for someone who really takes their superhero movies, seriously, I loved it. I felt like, okay, they respect the genre. And that was because the director, Matt Shakman, not familiar with him really, but he took it very seriously. And then it was produced by Kevin Feige. And he's been with all the Avengers and all of those type movies. That was a good team. I feel like the writers did a really good job, and then bringing in those actors, they made a good team. There wasn't really anything that I can point at as not really enjoying. Just a little bit of the CGI with the baby was a little weird. It's enjoyable. So if that's how you like your movies and you love Pedro Pascal, you're going to love this. But regardless, it's well done. It's fun. It's full of just beautiful visuals, great CGI, a lot of action. Well done. So Midwestern Movie Reviewer says, go see Fantastic Four, First Steps. Fantastic Four in theaters now. Midwestern Movie Reviewer out.